11th Hour Infinity asks, it's often been said that while there are 16 mojos, you could more precisely think of them as 32 gender mojos, because the designs manifest differently depending on whether they're male or female. Does this mean that one's gender alters the configuration itself somewhat? Or is it just a recognition of gender as something by which humans are divided, as they are by mojo?
Well, you're right in that it doesn't actually change the configuration, but it does change the storyline of a given configuration in a very significant way. So the second part to your question, is it just a way of dividing them? That's technically true too, but the division is based on the fact that the genders is a very significant kind of game changer to a person's storyline in physical, sexual, and social ways. And all of those kind of lead to these two different humans, a male and female of the same configuration, are still starting on different points on the map, so to speak. And so they'll require a different path to make their way, so to speak. And it doesn't stop at 32. In fact, that's terribly crude. We'd say the bare minimum is about 64, because you have to take into consideration sexual orientation, homosexuality, and heterosexuality too. That's another game changer that splits the storyline. And it also does not just stop there. That is still pretty low resolution. We'd say it's the bare minimum, but low resolution, because it should be going out to near infinity.
11th Hour Infinity also asks, what are some ways in which gender tends to alter the expression of specific mojos?
Going off of what Adymus said, the 64 lens is the minimum required for a story to occur. And the 64 lens would be the mojo configuration, the gender, and the sexual orientation. And that's what stories are made up of. There are a minimum of 64 native storylines. And everyone should want to understand what their native storyline is. There's benefits in defining it so that you can actually demand the right to be scored accordingly by the world, according to the parameters and criteria of your native storyline, because all of them are beautiful and valid. There's a great quote that Adymus told us, it's an Einstein quote, which is that if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it'll live the rest of its life thinking it's stupid. And that very much applies here. So everyone should know their native storyline and get recognized as such. And it's not something that limits, it's just recognizing, validating something so that it can be scored as, the beautiful creature that it is.
Niji Glenn asks, how does one go about trying to effectively establish a mutually harmonious relationship with their other?
The starting point will be for you to know yourself, to understand yourself. So what is it to be a Niji, and really understand that. Then to start understanding how you peak, your peak pathways. Best ways to really hone in on that would be with a small group of your own mojo configuration. So a Niji and Niji males, like a Niji wolf pack kind of thing. And then expand from there and really understand the breadth of your mojo, and really go deep on that actually, and do it with a large group of your own kind, with Niji, like Niji temple, that kind of thing. So really understand yourself, and really interact a lot with other people of your same mojo configuration. And then from there, you'll want to start really getting good at exchanging with your other, and with your own self, like your own unconscious powers, and those in the physical form of your other, and really getting good at exchanging on all four levels, all four powers, and that's really important as a next step, is to really hone in on that relationship with your other four unconscious powers and with your other in physical form, and learning really how to do that dance. And then from there, you don't want to stay there. You don't want to just continue that dance with your other as your main focus, because your other is actually going to be most impressed with you as you're able to interact with other groupings in your social alchemy. So the more impressive and the more you extend yourself, the more impressed your other will be with you, and the more rewards you'll get from a relationship with your other and with the rest of your collective.
Xailyyne has a follow-up question, which is, what are some issues that tend to surface in a relationship with one's other, and how can they be addressed?
Now that we've gone over some do's and how to approach your inspirational other, let's go over some don'ts. Don't just rush in to an inspirational relationship before doing any of the things that Xailyyne talked about, like, taking care of yourself, developing yourself a bit, understanding how to treat your other. Don't just jump into it. Otherwise, that's just going to result in you doing a lot of embarrassing things that you can't really take back later on. Don't think of it as your inspirational other is just this creature that you're supposed to just latch on to and they will just solve all your problems. There needs to be mutual flourishing, not just a parasitic one-sided relationship where you help me flourish while I pull you down. You both need to be co-heroes who are allowing both of your storylines to equally flourish. And that leads me to my second point, which is that if you do skip working on yourself and just go straight in, you're sending out a lame signal of yourself. And a lame signal is just going to attract another lame partner that you can be co-mutually lumpy together, and the lumpiness kind of just begets more lumpiness. Another thing that you need to watch out for is that your other isn't the end of the story. So there's more that goes after that. So don't think of it that even after working on yourself, you still have to just kind of run in once you get to your other then base. No, the story goes on after that. It's a high spirit form, but there's more to it. There's your Fumasta after that, and the shiny baby. So both of your stories do need to continue, which is why you both need to actually be able to kind of detach from each other and be able to let each other go. And that's the kind of thing that if you explain to right now the current kind of understanding of like love or marriage like that's kind of unheard of, to think that if you love a person, you actually do need to be able to let them go and let them be who they were supposed to be.
Stand on their own.
Right. And the last point that I need to bring up, and this is a very important one, is that you really need to keep in mind that there is a difference between your other, and by that I mean the spirit form of your other, and the actual human, that the inspirational mojo that takes the form of your other in a physiological way. That this is their own human who has their own storyline, and you have to be careful with projecting your entire other spirit form into this human, just because that's a very intense kind of ritual to do on yourself, that it's a very high spirit form, and this person may not represent the entirety of that. So while an inspirational mojo is kind of a physical representation of your other, the spirit form, is actually more than just this person. It's bigger than that.
And that's the healthiest thing, is actually to be able to, to have other outlets to gather inspiration from. That's how both partners will actually achieve the highest levels beyond just their other, and move up, as Adymus said, into Fumasta and Shiny Baby and beyond.
Right. So in learning how to treat your other, it does go further than kind of learning how to treat this one person that you may have a relationship. It could be learning how to treat all of the different samples within your inspirational mojo. And so by that I mean, instead of just stopping on this one person or this one social alchemy grouping, in this case, or inspirational other, then you need to be able to kind of build relationships with all the other social alchemy groups and other mojos, because they're all part of your story too. And so understanding it from the lens of one with the all, then you're understanding each story, including your own, and be able to appreciate it at a much more nuanced and higher level.